And we're live. Welcome to episode 91 of the SBL podcast. Our fearless leader, Brian, is currently unavailable, and I will be the guest host. This is Sean Jansen coming from twobearguys.com. And tonight I am currently drinking a Dogfish Head Pumpkin Ale. Also with us tonight, we have Carla.
Hi, how you guys doing? This is Carla, known online as the Beer Babe. I'm actually drinking an Infinity fermentation and distillation, so that's the brewing end of Navarre Rez's sister restaurant there, Infinity in Portland. And I'm drinking a triple tonight. Nice good color.
Nice. And also our guest from the Metro West, the beast from the Central Massachusetts, Norman Miller.
Hi, how are you? It's Norman Miller, Metro West Daily News, Beer Nut, Real Beer Nut on Twitter. And right now I'm enjoying pretty much the only pumpkin beer I'll probably buy this year, the Cambridge Brewing Company Great Pumpkin Ale. And I plan on moving over to the Taft's Marzen Scorsese, a really good Oktoberfest with a fantastic name.
Nice.
That is an awesome name. And we do have a special guest tonight. Tonight we have Dave Adams, who is the owner, co-founder, president, CEO, everything under the sun of the Granite State Growler Tours. Welcome, Dave.
Hi, everybody. I'm drinking Stoneface IPA, our newest little brewery up the street.
Very cool.
Now, Dave, I don't know if you haven't been on the show before. This is one of the SBL podcast. We're approaching 100 pretty quickly. Can you give our listeners and our crew here a little bit of background of the Growler Tours?
Oh, we started the Growler Tours about a year and a half ago. Ran our first bus in April of 2013. We basically go to all the smaller breweries in the Seacoast and also some of the larger ones. We give a little history of beer and brewing in New Hampshire while you're on the bus. The brewers give the tours of the breweries, and we've become actually quite famous for the pretzels we make with local beer that we give out on the bus as well.
Wait a minute, you guys make the pretzel? That's awesome.
Yes, we didn't plan on making the pretzels. We planned on buying the pretzels, but when we started, our tours were so sporadic that my wife said, we're buying these pretzels and they're sitting for 2 days. It's not fair to the bakeries that make them. It's not fair to our customers, so I'll just make them myself. And then she started to put beer in them, and then everyone wanted more, and now basically between my mom, my wife, and myself, we make every pretzel for every tour.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
It's like a little pretzel sweatshop.
Yeah.
So how did this all get started? I mean, how did you decide to start doing these tours?
Well, we live in Northampton, so we've always gone to Smutty Nose and Portsmouth Brewery over the years, but when Throwback opened up, we started going there, taking all our friends, and then Earth Eagle and Blue Lobster and Sea Hag opened up all about the same time, and we were just taking everyone we knew to all these breweries, and my wife said, well, geez, you should probably just get a bus. And I thought she was kidding, and then she said, no, really, go get a bus. And so we did, and we really didn't know what to expect, but called around, talked to a few other people that were already doing this just to get an idea of what we were getting into, and launched it in last March. Did some test runs and hope for the best.
Did you ever drive a bus prior to this?
No.
Wow.
So what breweries? You mentioned a couple of the breweries that you go to. How out of the new breweries that are going on in New Hampshire now, what breweries do your tours hit?
We have 3 days a week. We run tours on 4 different tours. And so if you want to run on the whole list, you go to Throwback, Blue Lobster, Earth Eagle, Sea Hag for rum, Smoky Quartz for vodka, Smutty Nose, Stoneface, Sun Brewing in York, Newburyport Brewing, Riverwalk, I think that's been it so far.
Awesome, though.
You guys cross both into Maine and Massachusetts a little too.
Yeah, we have interstate operating authority with the DOT, so we can go across state lines.
Okay.
Now, for all those breweries that you mentioned, is that you go a tour that does all of those breweries in one day?
No, we usually do about four breweries on a tour. They're roughly 4 hours, so that gives you about 45 minutes to an hour to spend with the brewers or whoever's giving the tour at the brewery. Chat with them, get a little tour, drink some beer, and then on to the next spot. We're trying not to keep people on the bus too long.
Can you
More
describe what
time
a
for
typical
drinking.
tour?
Go ahead, Norm.
Can you describe what a typical tour is like? Like how long, like you're at each brewery? Is it like a special tour, or is it the same tour that someone goes in, or do they like arrange for you guys when you come? And just how long are you at each brewery?
We're usually about 45 minutes. Most of our regular tours, we have a schedule we like to stick to, but then we also do custom and private tours. So like this Thursday we have a tour, and Friday we're doing something we don't normally do on Friday. So we're able to call the breweries and set them up one at a time. But most of the times the brewer gives the tour a little quick. It's not really beer 101. It's kind of why we do what we do and why we're different. That way gives people a little exposure to the brewers and what they're doing over there. And Mark and I, Mark, the tour guide, talks on the bus. We don't usually do a lot of touring, running the tours of the brewers. Leave that to the brewers. They know a lot more about beer than we do.
Well, maybe a lot more about what their beer is,
Yeah.
and you get a brewer talking, and they'll talk about their beer.
Oh yeah.
Do you have a favorite stop? Is there a stop you like going to best out of the ones that you've mentioned? I'm just curious because I mean you have everything on that list from Earth Eagle, which is like this big, to Smutty Nose, gigantic. So just kind of curious.
Well, I like going to all the breweries. It's fun to see the reactions from the people, though. They're the ones that make it more interesting because you've got people that have never been to a two-barrel brewery before. And they're like, all the beer comes out of that room that's my closet over there, and they don't, it freaks them out. And then you take them from, on Fridays we go to, Blue Lobster all the way to Smutty Nose. I mean, that's a pretty big range. So it's fun to see people reacting to places they may not have seen before.
Yeah, just speaking from being up here in Maine, I enjoy the fact that we have that level of scale. You've got Shipyard Allagash, and then you've got Austin Street that's doing like one barrel brewing. So to me, it's not always the same brewery. It's not always like, oh, we're all medium sized. It's like, no, here's a teeny one and here's a huge one right across the street from each other. It gives you a hint at least of the diversity of the types of people that are going into craft beer and how they're approaching it. They're not all approaching it the same. It's definitely not out of the box.
Yeah, so even though we get a tour at each brewery, some people ask, am I going to learn about how to make beer 4 times? And really, we don't. So it's, they're all very different in what they choose to talk about. But even if they did talk about how they make beer, it's usually something different in there.
Yeah, very cool.
Sorry, I was going to say, you mentioned that you get some weird reactions. What are some of the funny things or weird reactions that you may have received when taking people on the brewery tours?
I think usually if we get people that have only been to really large breweries, they just blows their mind that some of the smaller places, the only place you can get the beer is there. They don't bottle, they don't distribute, they're not even on draft line some places, and they just don't know what to think about that. So they just keep looking in the back, and wondering what's going on.
Right.
Yeah, where's the rest of it? And it's not there. But so we've had people that have never been to breweries much at all, or people that have, bring their growlers with them. So it's definitely a wide range of people, but it's always interesting to see.
How much does one of the tours cost?
They're $60, and that includes your beer and your pretzel.
And you can drink on the bus while you're going from spot to spot.
No, we can't drink alcohol on the bus.
Oh, okay.
So that's we chose not to go that route.
That's the same thing in Boston. They didn't do that either, so I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah, I think that when we first started out, some of the breweries were concerned about how much people would be drinking, and they wanted to be first. They didn't want to be the last stop, and they weren't sure what we were doing or what was going on. So we kind of figured it was just better that way.
Mm-hmm.
So basically at the beginning there was probably a struggle to get a route and get people convinced that you wanted to go, right?
Yeah, it was. I went to Earth Eagle, Throwback, Blue Lobster, and Sea Hag were the first four places I approached. Places like Smutty Nose when they were at Heritage, they had a very limited tour schedule, and they wanted us. They were interested, but we didn't know how to make the timing work out. The logistics and the timing are really the hardest part. And when I approached all the breweries, they seemed interested, and they gave me a time that they were available, and then I had to set up that first route. And
Right.
it just so happened that all those times fell into place. I was very lucky, and that was our Saturday tour that we still run after a year and a half.
Oh, cool. Do you have any plans of maybe expanding maybe other parts of the state later as you guys grow? I mean, there are a lot more breweries popping up, so it's not like you have to go like really far, like compared to even like 2-3 years ago. Now you could probably expand a little more and still be relatively close to the seacoast.
Yeah, I think Dover's getting ready to have a few more places. And we've run tours in Manchester before, so we're going to start adding more Manchester and Londonderry, Nashua type areas very, very soon. So you should see some big announcements from us shortly.
Nice. How many breweries? I think I've asked Brian this a couple times. How many breweries are there now in New Hampshire?
Last time I was asked that, there were 28.
Okay.
I think
now there's 34.
Yeah,
Wow.
there's a few more.
Yeah,
Guys,
there's
guys are getting there.
34 in the state.
Yep.
I know it's like every single state, every week you can add. Yeah, there's 2 more since last week.
Yep. We're up to 55 in Maine. We'll have one more next month. So it's just...
Now, with some of the breweries in the tours, you must have gone on, you must have listened to the breweries' spiels multiple times. Do you think there's any brewery that you could actually give their own brewery tour as well as that they're doing it?
Yeah, a few of them. I think they're all very different. It's different every time. But the one I think that's the most repeatable is Smutty Nose, and it's still pretty entertaining. So I still Mark and I follow along usually for the tours, and we don't usually get bored with it. We're pretty we like watching the people and hearing what's new. That's the thing you get with the breweries.
Right.
If there's something new happening or some new information, they're usually happy to share it with everyone. So it's always fun. Plus, we get a lot of people asking questions. A lot of times, the brewers are giving the tours. It's a private tour with us. I mean, there's no one else at the brewery but us. And so you've got some people that are really into brewing get some one-on-one time with the brewers, and they'll pretty much bend their ear the whole time. You get some really interesting conversations come out of that.
What would you say among your customers is the most popular stop? Is it something like Smutty Nose, which is larger, or is it something like smaller, like like Earth Eagle, like because it's totally unique to what a lot of people might see? You have like one that you seem to be more popular than the others, or not more popular, but more like a different type of reaction to than they expect. If I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah, well, I think what's really funny is the distilleries get a lot of interesting second glances because people don't either pay attention or know, but they're going to a rum or a vodka stop, and usually that's a big surprise to people, and they're just fascinated by that. Earth Eagle has the atmosphere there, and the types of beers that they're serving are usually very interesting to people. They've never really had a Gruit before, or they haven't had some styles of beers. They like, it's interesting there. Throwbacks are always fun because, it's woman owned. But I think if that group hasn't been to a particular had that style of beer before, their eyes get a little big when they start talking about farmhouse ales or it's something aged in a barrel. They may not have had something aged in a bourbon barrel before, or seen something as large as Smutty Nose. But,
right. Do you find that most of the people who are taking your tours are from out of town, or are they local, or a combination?
When we first started, it was mostly local, and in our second year, it's mostly out of state.
Okay.
I'd
So
say
like
over
people
half.
are up today and they want to kind of explore.
Yeah, we get a lot of people we get a lot of groups. So you've got birthday parties, bachelor parties, baby showers, just corporate outings, so we're getting a lot
Baby
of large
showers.
groups. Yeah,
That's awesome.
we've had three baby showers so far.
That'd be the best baby shower ever.
Ever, right?
Yeah, so it's a lot of out of state people, and so that's why a lot of people haven't been to these breweries at all. They hadn't even heard of them or
Right.
couldn't even find them. You know, we've had people who work in Portsmouth who couldn't find Earth Eagle if they tried, and so they're like, that's where this is. So they're thrilled, and then they go back. You know, that's the best part is when we go back again and we see the same people over and over. You know, that we
Right.
had on the bus that thank us for showing it to them. So
Every time
that's
I've gone
always
to Earth
fun.
Eagle, every time I've gone to Earth Eagle, there's been somebody wandering down the street looking at their phone like,
Oh,
where,
Yeah.
that happened.
and they always have like another brewery shirt on, and I'm like, you looking for Earth Eagle? And they're like, yeah, and I'm like, because it's in a little side street that you can't. There's no like huge sign on the outside before you get there, so you walk halfway down the street, you just think you're wrong.
Yep.
But it's so funny because I can tell immediately that that's what they're looking for because they have like a Jack's Abbey shirt on and then their phone, and they're looking up like I don't know what I'm doing. So
Yeah. Well, they have a sign now, so
yeah, okay, well now I'll have
finally.
So, Dave, it seems like these type of businesses are really starting to grow. Why do you think they're taking off so much? I mean, there's a couple in Portland, you in New Hampshire, there's in Massachusetts now, and there's, I mean, I've heard of other parts of the country. Why are these bus tours taking off, you think?
I think people are discovering craft beer, and they don't. For people that may not be as up to speed on it, they hear about these things. They don't know where to find them or where to go or how to work them all in, and they go on a trip and they're like, oh look, there's a bus, and that's their way to, you know, it's a couple of things. I mean, it's how to see the area, you know, because we
Right.
do, you know, for my wife and I, whenever we travel, we would take a city tour wherever we were to kind of see what's going on, learn about it. And I think people are interested in not only looking for beer but seeing what else is going on in that town. So, and I don't know. I think it's just a lot of people are getting turned on to craft beer now, and they're looking for ways to get introduced to it or ways to find it.
So you must kind of also be keeping up with what these breweries are doing too, because if you're going back week after week, they're talking about their plans, they're releasing new beers. Do you have any like, favorite new releases from New Hampshire breweries, or any like, fun things that you want to share that you found out just by kind of going and keeping up with them?
Well, sometimes like we hear a lot of things that we can't talk about sometimes, so it's like that's the tough part. You just want to tell everyone, like, you know what they told me over at Earth Eagle.
Yeah, right.
You can't tell anybody, but Earth Eagle's expansion, into the Angie homebrew in the front, that was a fun one.
Yeah.
Seeing what's in the barrels at certain places, like I know what's in the barrels at Blue Lobster. I know what's in the barrels at Earth Eagle, and we know what's coming down the road, from Throwback, and so it is. You do get a little bit of information from time to time if you happen to be there at the right time. And so a lot of times it's releases or plans for special events, that's coming down the road.
Dave, you've had some great success in the getting some press on your business venture. You mind sharing a little bit of kind of what happened and some of the press that you received?
Well, last week, we're in the October edition of Entrepreneur Magazine, which is kind of crazy.
Wow.
That came about in a rather roundabout fashion, but it was started off with writing a testimonial for some software that I use for my mobile site. It went to the president of that company, and then it ended up going out to press release, and then I got a call from Entrepreneur Magazine, and the article is kind of how we use that software as a small business to help us out, as someone without big advertising budgets, without big software budgets. So we ended up doing a photo shoot over at Smutty Nose. It was like 2.5 hours I spent over there taking pictures. But so that was nice to get that, that little nationwide publicity, which is for me it's kind of crazy, just because I'd never expected that we'd be in a national magazine. So we were on New Hampshire Chronicle or the summer we started, which was huge. We've been in the Boston Globe, a couple of local New Hampshire newspapers. So we're always looking for ways to kind of talk about what we're doing and spread the word. Just because like I said, most of our people are coming from out of town and out of state. So the more people that can find out about it, about New Hampshire beer, the better able we are to share it with them.
And if someone was going to say, I can go on Google and I can look at maps and figure out where all these different breweries are. Um, what would you say is the biggest a couple? The key value points of your bus tour that they're not going to get by just going and showing up on their own.
I think there's two things that we're doing that I think are somewhat unique, and that's you're getting most of the time a private tour from the brewer. So if you just showed up at the brewery and they were busy, the brewers may not be there. You may not they might not be able to show you around. But if you're with us, you're going to be shown around the brewery. You're going to see the brew house. You're going to talk to someone who knows what they're doing over there. So that's kind of nice. A lot of people really appreciate that. You're also going to get, Mark, my partner Mark Shag is our tour guide. So on the bus, he's done a tremendous amount of research on the history of beer and brewing in New Hampshire. So you're going to learn a little bit about beer and brewing from colonial times to Prohibition and today. Do a little sightseeing. We show you some interesting sites in Portsmouth that are very important to the beer world, like Frank Jones's Brewery and some other places. So there's a lot going on the tour just besides getting beer. And so we're happy to tell people which breweries to visit and how to visit them, when to visit them. But we're also happy when we can show them something that they may not get on their own. And that's kind of we live here among all these breweries. We go to these breweries anyway, so we're usually hanging around all the time, and we get that because we're close to the breweries. We get that personal experience from them as well. So if I have a tour like on a Tuesday and nobody's open, I can call the breweries and say, I've got a tour on a Tuesday afternoon. Who wants in? And they'll all come back, get back to me, and I can arrange a tour at breweries that aren't even open for people. And that's something else that we can offer people.
That is really cool.
Sorry, go ahead, Carl.
I just want to say, too, that especially when you've got kind of a large geographical area to cover, you're also providing just the service of you get to hit these breweries without having to drive in between them. I know that's obvious, but for a lot of places, for some towns that are beer towns, everything's right there. You can just walk back and forth, and it's fine, and you can hang out for the day in a city and go see what you want to see with public transit. But in New England in particular, that's not really an option. If it's great to, have the added value of the tour, but also just to be able to go between, safely and sample what you want to sample. So that's a cool strength to all of the beer tours.
It's nice to be able to. We pick up in downtown Portsmouth and also at other restaurants. So when you're done, you get to go have a meal. We're not dumping you off in a parking lot somewhere. You have to go. So we do a little bit of walking. On Sundays, we had to add another stop because Throwback wasn't open. So on Sundays, we go to the Coat of Arms in Portsmouth and do a cask ale tasting with Rob. And then other alternate Sundays, we go to Whim Craft Beer Cafe, and Alex gives us a Trappist ale tasting. And so it's another way to expose more local businesses, but also those two places are great places to eat and drink beer. So people will sometimes go back afterwards and hang out. So it's nice to be able to.
Yeah, it's a good way to show that it's not just local beer; it's also bars that appreciate good beer from wherever they are. So
we like to.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, when we were talking the other day, you're sort of mentioning maybe at least one new stop in Maine that people should be able to follow along on your website to be able to for when your tour is going that direction.
Yeah, we along with Some Brewing, we should be heading to Tributary pretty soon. So
Tributary, which is
Todd Mott's
Brewery.
So
by Todd Mott.
Yeah, so I felt pretty good that I've spoken to Todd a few times, I've met him a few times, and I think it's for someone to approach me or ask me about what we're doing, is makes me feel pretty good that we're doing something good for the beer community. I think that they do appreciate it. So we'll be adding a couple of new places. I know Bear is going to be opening soon, and as soon as we can get out to these places, we're trying to expand territory, expand our offerings, trying to hire some new staff, and some big news we haven't really talked about yet is the second bus. So the second bus is
Tell us more.
Should be announced very shortly. So you guys are getting the scoop on that. So we haven't really talked about it much. We've run it a few times, but we haven't really talked about it only because we're still trying to staff it up, get more people on board, get more tours, and then work out the timing. Like I said, the timing is the hardest part. I got a day job during the week and trying to organize this and do it on the weekends. I drive the bus, I give the tours when I have to. So it's we're just trying to make sure that we expand the right way and we don't try to do it too quick and then have a not as good of a product. It's tough because, well, it's not tough, but it's interesting that at the end of most of our tours, people will come up to me or Mark and they'll tell us one of two things. They'll tell us these are the best pretzels you've ever had.
Yeah.
So people want the pretzels more than they want the beer sometimes, and it's not or they'll they all like the beer, so that's first and foremost. But they'll also say I didn't expect the history and the stuff that I learned, the stuff that portion of the tour is almost what we're getting known for. So the historical aspect, the learning, and the pretzels is one half, and the beer is the other half. But people come on board expecting those things, and so we want to make sure that we're still keeping those areas at the same level that we have them now, so people get a good experience.
It's all about the experience. It's all about the overall experience, and it is just going from one place to the next.
Yeah, I mean, if I wasn't even, it's more important for me that that's why Mark and I don't give the tours of the breweries, because we're not beer experts. We take you to the beer experts. That's one of our things we tell people on the bus. So we want to make sure that when you're at the brewery, you're going to get the best information and the best stories that you can get, and then that helps. That people do appreciate that.
In a perfect world, where will the Granite State Growler Tour be in 2-3 years?
Well, I have no idea. It depends on what my wife will put up with. my wife and my mom.
She's the one that the bus in the first place.
No, she plays a big part. My wife and my mom do so much behind the scenes that I can't possibly thank them enough for all of their effort. Mom drives the bus when I can't drive the bus, so she makes the pretzels, and she makes the tasty books, and she makes the name tags, and she makes colossal spreadsheets of information that we may or may not need. But she does a lot. So I think I can see us. Even just in New Hampshire, I can see us adding a lot more stops, a lot more places, and trying to do more special events just outside of beer tours, but trying to find a way to increase beer tourism in the state.
Did you see yourself doing it as a full-time job if the opportunity came about?
I would love to. That'd be wonderful. I don't know if I'll get there. I don't know if I'll be able to get there soon, but I think if a couple more buses, we might be able to get there. But it's I think maybe by next summer we'll definitely be adding another bus, more routes.
Wow, that's just showing that demand and the experience that you're building time after time is really creating an opportunity for growth and expansion there.
Yeah, there's a lot of people have been calling us asking, just group tours alone. In January, December had been our best month. January, I had 8 people call me for a tour the same day, for groups. I had 8 different groups wanted to book the bus in the same day, and I was like, I don't know what to do about this. So I had to start adding.
So 8 buses then. We need 8 buses. That's
8 buses. That's cool. Really sounds like that you kind of found an idea and kind of created an experience around a passionate community and really a service to help out the community from within the craft beer world.
Yeah, I think it's nice if I'm out at the breweries and I hear people talking about the tours, which is always fun, or you hear it's kind of when the brewers thank me, that makes me feel really good. That lets me know we're doing something. Coming from outside the beer world, into the beer world, and being embraced and welcomed, and meeting so many wonderful people. It's been a lot of fun.
And so, typically at the towards the end of each show, we kind of ask what we refer to as a moment of Zen question, and it's kind of just your feeling of in sort of a opinion and on a specific topic. So, if there was someone out there tomorrow, and just for the sake of your business, let's just say that they were in upstate New York, and they decided that there was an opportunity to be able to create a bus tour for the breweries in their neighborhood, what sort of advice would you give to that person if they asked you for advice?
I think the biggest thing for me was you've got to have a personal relationship with the breweries to get the best experience there and to get the best response. So if you're local, that's going to be huge. And talk to the brewers. If you don't know them, get to know them. Hang out there, be a part of the community. They see that, the customers see that, and I think if they see that you're, committed to your local area and what's going on, they'll be responsive, I think, and I think I just try and treat people the way we want to be treated ourselves. So that's the customer service is also be prepared to do some serious customer service. But I think it's you have getting that relationship with the brewers is going to be the best help.
Yeah, absolutely. And the people that I do know, even like the ones that run the tours up here in Maine, have that exact thing going on. Is they walk into a brewery, everybody knows who they are, and that community is awesome. And I just love that there is that community. It doesn't take much to get to know the brewers and the people making fantastic local beer. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I reached out to both the main beer tours and the main brew tours before we started, and they were happy to talk to me. I had very specific questions, and they were great help and helped me pretty much pull the trigger because I was kind of nervous, kind of worried, and they pretty much put me at ease and helped get me started.
Very cool. Well, I know I've definitely seen your bus around every time I come to Portsmouth somewhere.
Yeah, we try to run it as much as we can.
Yeah.
And if people are going to find you on the web, where will they find you?
They'll find us at nhbeerbus.com, or if you search for the Growler Tours, you'll probably find us pretty quickly.
Cool.
Perfect. Well, Dave, thanks for joining us today and sharing some of the news about the Growler Tours. I hope people listening, if they have an opportunity to visit, they take a tour with the Granite State Growler Tours and have a great seacoast experience, or beyond, depending upon where your trip is going that day. As always, for the end of each show, we raise a glass and salute the industry and cheers.
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 Well, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Thanks for
joining
coming
us on
on.
the show.